Greetings. I'm Dr. Sean Powell, president of Eastern New Mexico University here at Roswell, and we're coming to you today from the David Gonzales studio. And with me are Dr. Angelica Rodriguez and Frank Gonzáles, family members of David Gonzales. And so we've got some questions, and we want to talk about David's legacy, his history, and as family members, we'd like to just hear from you about some stories from your brother and father, and just hear how the studio came to be. So I guess first off, what does it mean to you as a family member to have someone, a father or brother like David Gonzales, who was really a state and local community broadcasting legend?
Well, you know, David was number 7 in a family of 12. So for him to be as successful as he was took a lot of work, a lot of education, and a lot of organization, and he just did a great job. We're very proud of him, and unfortunately, he left early in our lives, but we have the studio here to honor him, and that's really appreciated.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it's always been an honor. I've always been proud of my parents and my dad with all of the success that he's had, all the things that he did, his dedication to the community. That's kind of been my drive for my own career and my own education in life is to emulate my parents, and try to be as they were for our community. And so it was always kind of cool. I remember, I think I was in like the 5th grade, and my dad and I were fixing my bike in the driveway, and there was a kid that was riding a bike that was coming through the neighborhood, and he rode by his bike, and I saw him stop, turn around, and he ran back, and he was like, "You're David Gonzales!" My dad was like, "Yeah." He goes, "Hold on." He ran home, and he came back, and he had a piece of paper and a pencil, and he was like, "Can I have an autograph?" And I was like, "It's just Dad," But those kinds of things were kind of cool when we were growing up to experience and see how he'd impacted not only adults but kids. Going into everybody's home. At 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock news, 10 o'clock news, and informing them of the things that are going on in the community. He started to kind of feel like family to some people too.
So at an early age, you realized he had a bigger influence on the community beyond just your family.
Absolutely, yeah. We couldn't go anywhere without someone recognizing him, or he couldn't eat dinner. Somebody would walk up to him and shake his hand, and it was a running joke in the family. It's like, can't eat dinner without somebody coming up. We're just sitting there, my mom, my brother, and I, while he's sitting there talking and stuff. But the people that came in to talk to him, the respect that they had for them, it was a mutual respect. Big people in the community. It was pretty impressive to see, that he held his own, and he was really involved.
What is one moment, if you can recall one, that your father and or brother, made you especially proud of what he was doing in the community and as far as broadcasting in New Mexico?
Well, David, when we were growing up, we worked on a farm, and he was out in the cotton fields, trying to get through the day. And then one day he just turned around and looked at Roswell, and he said, "Why not me?" So that meant that he could do what everybody else was doing. Not, the farm, working on the fields wasn't going to hold him back. So he started school out here. When he first started, he study at the janitor's department. Then he worked his way up to working in the Campus Union building. He started working for the newspaper, for the ENMU-Roswell. As a matter of fact, I was one of the first people that he interviewed, and I was really kind of proud of that, that I was the first one. So after that, he went to Portales at KENW, and he started some of the programs there. And after graduating, he went and worked in Midland, Odessa for the TV station, and then he finally came home to Roswell, where he started working at KBIM. And he was influential in hiring a lot of very important people in TV. Steve Devine, who works as still working as a weatherman in Lubbock, and Van Tate, who's works in Albuquerque at KBIM. Bob Martin, who unfortunately we lost in a helicopter accident. He did a lot of stories. And Donna Oracion, who worked here at this campus, and Kim Steckline, Dina Jinks, they all worked for David. And, we were really proud of him. And then also at all the football games, he was an announcer over the PA system and graduation. And we were just really proud of David because, we just didn't realize, how great he was because he was just our brother.
Yeah. He was very humble about it all. He never bragged or boasted about things. Quite honestly, he probably would be mad at us for the studio, because that was kind of his thing. It was never about him. It was never about recognition for him. It was always about everyone else, and sharing the spotlight with everyone, and making everyone shine. You talk about him doing the announcing at the games. Mm-hmm. The announcing at the games, and then when he would announce the names at graduation, that was always his goal. And I always remember him practicing the names and making sure that he said them correctly, because he knew what a name meant to a person, and the identity that they held with that, and how important that was. And he wanted them to have that presented correctly and said correctly. And he put a lot of effort into. A lot of people don't think about how hard that is to do, and how important it is, but he understood that. And when he'd announce the games, I know there were a couple of football players who, the way he announced their name on a game is how they wanted him to announce him when they graduated, because they loved the feeling that they got when they heard the golden voice say their names. So it's kind of cool.
So what lessons from your father's career would you say have stuck with you and led you to the point where you are now as an audiologist here in Roswell?
Exactly that, of just caring about others and putting others first. It's never about me. It's never about what it is that I'm doing or how successful I am or the business is. It's how successful my patients are, the things that we can do for people, that servitude. Being able to be the helping hand and be the assistance that other people need, and provide support to others in any way that we can, in any aspect that we can, in whatever God-given gift we've been given.
Is there any particular phrase, quote, or broadcast moment that you always associate with your father?
I don't know, every broadcast. I don't know, I can't think. Do you have?
I just remember always making sure that we were sitting there when, and I never really watched the news until my brother started doing the news. And so we were always sitting right there waiting to see whenever he would come on, and it really wasn't a phrase that he would say. It was just David being David. So,
What was your brother like? I mean, you mentioned a story about being out in the cotton fields and him looking toward Roswell, but what was he like before he became this local broadcasting legend?
Well, we were like 1 year apart, so he was very athletic. He played, and we played on the same football teams, the same basketball teams. He was, of course, a family man, just like the rest of the Gonzaleses. Family is very important, and I would just know that he was always there whenever we needed him. Especially, he was the leader of the family, the Gonzales family. Even though he was number 7, to us he was number 1.
Okay. What's a behind-the-scenes story that you'd like people to know about your dad and your brother?
I don't know. There's a lot of stories, a lot of memories about Dad. Just the biggest thing is he's always a comedian. That was always my deal. I loved going to family gatherings. I loved going to Christmas and Thanksgiving and those kinds of things, because he was always the one that was start everybody going and cracking jokes and making it just a really good, fun time. He loved playing pranks on people. The stories that I've heard of the things that he'd do to you guys when you were younger. I don't want to embarrass anyone, so I won't divulge in any of the specific stories. But they were just. He was always wanting to laugh, wanting to have a good time. He understood the importance of that. And there would be times that he and I would just kind of bounce off of each other, and we'd just be rolling on the floor in tears, just from laughing with each other. He was always, just wanting to have fun.
And I know we're here talking about your dad, but your mom's been very important to the Roswell community also. Could you talk a little bit about her impact on the community and in your life?
The same kind of thing too, of giving back to the community as a teacher. That was her gift, or is her gift, is being able to educate the students in Roswell. She did elementary school for a long time. She was actually a teacher at the school that I went to in elementary school. We kind of separated from middle school, and then when I went into high school at Roswell High, she joined in, and so I ended my school career with her at the same school again too, so that was kind of fun. She was doing choir there towards right before retirement. She did choir for I think like 15 years, probably a little longer. So she shared her gift of singing and her love of music with those kids, got a lot of the kids involved in music. A lot of her students ended up becoming music majors, going on to do different kind of Broadway type productions and things. Through education, she's really encouraged kids to kind of expand on their talents and stuff, and
Okay. Well, I didn't want to exclude her from this
Oh, absolutely,
conversation.
yeah. She's definitely an important part. We were always a family unit. People used to make fun of us because the four of us were always together. I can't remember a time growing up where it wasn't the four of us doing something, going somewhere. We were tight knit, and Dad very much was about family, as Mom is. We've always just kind of been everybody's best friend,
Okay. So, Frank, how did you and David support or challenge each other as you were growing up?
Well, it was always, I would say, a little difficult for him because he was my younger brother, and everybody, like the coaches, would say, "Well, look what Frank's doing," So he would have to try a lot harder, to better himself as far as sports, but as far as being a human being, he was the better. And it was fun. We all grew up together, playing softball together as a family, and we just had a great time. And we're very proud of David and his family. And Mom and Dad did a great job of, raising us and teaching us the value of education and being respectful and responsible. And that's what David was, very respectful and responsible man.
Yeah.
Were there any early signs that he was destined for a public media campaign, career?
At the Brenham Stadium, that's where all the Little League football games took place, and they may still be taking place there. But David and one of his best friends, Jimmy Estrada, got together and found out that the Brenham Stadium had a PA system, and they went and got permission to sit up there and announce the kids' names and the plays and. Right there and then, I think that he felt like, yes, this is what I want to do, to give to the community and to make sure that everybody was known. That was his thing, to make sure everybody was known. and that the parents of those kids or anybody else were proud of them, just like our parents were. So.
How do you see his influence and legacy resonating in the local community and the state of New Mexico?
Well, you know, David was in the city council. I don't know how many people remember that, but he was on the city council, and he served his community, and a lot of people knew him, even though he didn't know all of the people, but a lot of people knew him, respected him, and they would ask him for help, and he would help if he could. And eventually, he ended up being the manager at Cable One, and there again, you know, there were a lot of people that depended on him for the TV system. And when it didn't work, you know, just call David. You know, David will fix it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. And then, if he were here today, you made reference to this, that he probably wouldn't be very fired up about having a studio named after him, but what do you think he'd be saying about his legacy?
You know, I think that he would definitely want to encourage students to get into journalism and be participating in that as much as he could. Broadcast journalism was his love, and to be able to bring that to Roswell, to bring that back here, I think that would be, he'd be excited about that, because it's kind of a cool thing to have here, something that he didn't really have, that he had to go to Portales for. And then, not that it's a bad thing to go to Portales to continue on the education, but to get the start here, to get the taste of it, and just kind of start that fire for broadcast journalism. I feel like he would definitely be proud of that. You know, one of the things that, you know, he would probably tell students is, you know, we talked about that on the plaque that we have over there, you know, is to make sure to meet your deadlines. You know, it was always his thing too, was, you know, make sure that you meet the deadline for the stories, that you get it right, that you get the facts right, you know, and really encouraging that concept of being factual in the media that you're presenting and the stories that you're giving, because it's important, because people depend on that.
Okay. So any last thoughts or anything else that comes to mind as we sit here in the David Gonzales studio and recognize his legacy to the broadcasting community in the local area in Roswell, southeast New Mexico, and just the whole state, really, through KENW?
I was really honored and really proud to have been able to help create something like this, and be part of it. You know, I know that my dad, his whole goal and his whole purpose was, like I said, to help people, and he was a very big Christian man, and to honor God and do the things that God has led us to do. And I'm just proud that we can continue that idea of broadcast journalism talents, and continuing to allow those students to expand on that, and to bring information to our community. And I'm just really proud of all the things that my dad did. I strive to do and think like he did and does, and you know, in my business, in my world, and yeah.
Frank, any last thoughts?
Well, like Angelica said, I think David would probably be saying, no TV studio named after me at ENMU-Roswell. But I think that he really deserved it, because he really did a lot for the community, and not just the community, but for ENMU-Roswell and also KENW in Portales. One of the programs that he started there is still in existence, Cultura, and that's something that he was very proud of. So yeah, I think that he would be saying no TV studio, but I hope that ENMU-Roswell takes advantage of the studio and uses it, And hopefully the students here will also take advantage of it. And I'm sure that there's a lot of other David Gonzaleses out there, waiting to participate in the news and TV. So.
Well, thank you for your time today. We appreciate it. And again, we're calling this show from the David Gonzales studio at Eastern New Mexico University, Roswell. Thank you for joining us.